Hey guys, and welcome to another exciting episode of Monster Party, or as we kind of know it, it's kind of Monster Party After Dark or Drunk Monster Party. Hey guys, here, hey! Just want to let you know, today's theme is Halloween. Anything and everything Halloween. Halloween memories, Halloween movies, anything that has to do with Halloween. And some of the, probably many of you out there, probably your most great Halloween stories has to do with maybe your first Halloween experiences. I mean, I gotta tell you, I don't know about you guys, but probably one of my greatest Halloween experiences was actually when I wasn't actually Creature, but when I was Frankenstein. And you know, the funny thing about these, did you guys get any of these when you were kids?
Oh yeah.
These are the Ben Cooper.
Right? Ben Cooper costumes.
We got all kinds of stories, but hey, just to let you know, I'm Larry Strothe.
I'm Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Matt Weinhold.
I'm James Gonis.
And again, welcome to Monster Party. Tonight's theme, Halloween. So I don't know about you guys, but one of my favorite experiences was when I was Frankenstein. I was about 8 years old. And the thing about these Ben Cooper, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you guys got these when you were kids. It came in a box,
Sure.
you know, they were like $1.99 or something your parents got. And you're all excited to see the mask. You go, gosh, this is so cool. I'm going to be a great, cool monster. And then to your shock or horror, horror most likely. You open up the costume thinking it's gonna look like Frankenstein, you know, with this, you know, ripped shirts. I mean, instead you get something that looks like this.
Yeah, you get Frankenstein's lobster bib. That's what you get.
So it's Frankenstein advertising himself on his shirt.
And I'm sure like a lot of you out there, I mean, I remember being
Frankenstein is sold out.
No, I was so disappointed. But what I did is, you know, my mom got this big furry black wig that I could put over the Frankenstein mask, and then I got my dad's jacket and dad's pants, and then, you know, trying to walk around.
Yeah, I mean, even as a true monster fan, even as a little kid, I mean, why would you know, that just didn't work. Why would you have a picture of
why?
No, I understand.
This outfit.
Costumes are so great now. When I look at a kid that's got like a Spider-Man costume or anything, it's like or a Hulk. Like I love the Hulk, the classic superhero monster.
Right.
And not only is it a Hulk costume, but it's a Hulk costume with like inflated muscles.
Yeah.
Like that's a whole nother world of technology.
Yeah, that's a great
that's
a great costume. No, you had the Ben Cooper thing with the little, you know, bib. Unless of course your parents or you know, decide to help you.
Yeah,
exactly.
They work at Universal.
Yeah, right.
So and another one of the costumes I had was, it really wasn't, this is when I was a little older, and it wasn't necessarily a monster, but it was one of those things where, you know, my mom took me out, it was the day before Halloween, and I get to the store, Mom goes, okay, go ahead and pick something. And I gotta tell you, I looked for the cool monster things, and there wasn't anything there. All that was left was Lance Link Secret Shampoo and Mickey Mouse Sorcerer's Apprentice. And I went, well, you know, I love Fantasia, so I'll go with that. And Mom goes, all right, just get it, let's go. So I was Mickey Mouse Sorcerer's Apprentice, and I gotta tell you, I was determined this year, I'm gonna get as much freaking candy as I could. So what I did, so I remember going around the block with my brothers, sisters, you know, my mom and dad. Then after we got back home, I said to my mom, okay, I'm gonna go out, I'll be back. And I went around the block again, all by myself. And I'll never forget going to this one house and going up and ringing the doorbell, and this woman goes, oh, that's the second Mickey Mouse I've seen all night. I went, trick or treat.
Someone else is dressed like me?
Yeah, so I got a lot of candy that
I can't believe that during the Ape episode, we didn't talk about Lancelot Link Synchro.
That's right.
Well,
by the way, it's a brilliant TV show.
Yeah.
Yes,
watch it today. It's kind of
yes, but tonight's theme, it's all Halloween. Okay, I just want to stick and focus.
Okay, so I had a lot of those Ben Cooper costumes as well. And then I got, because, you know, like with the other kids, you trade things. And I traded a costume from, and I can't remember what I traded it for, but he gave me a, it was kind of like a higher end, I think, Ben Cooper, but it was a hobo costume.
a classic hobo.
It was a hobo costume. Hobo, which is, in our day and age, we call them the homeless.
You're the red hobo.
Yeah, and it's not funny.
Yeah,
it's not funny, but at the
it's
time,
not so great. It's not so great.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
you're like, and so it's this hobo costume, and it's again one of the classic kind of Ben Cooper costumes with the bib, But then it was this mask, and this was sort of like the higher end mask. And it had a little electric bulb in the nose.
No.
And the nose would blink red because he's an alcoholic.
Of course.
Like, that was such an innocent time of like, hey, what do you want to be for Halloween? Oh, an alcoholic homeless person. Let's do that. Let's try that.
But do you guys remember like those Vancouver masks too? That plastic smell that was so.
Oh my God! Yeah, the polyurethane.
Like getting hot right now.
And look, can I just show you?
No,
can I just show you?
Yeah,
look at the amount of air that you're allowed to breathe through.
It's like
it's a slot.
if you're a kid,
ventilated.
Yes,
I'm the creature of the Black Lagoon with emphysema.
But still, I know it was always tough to breathe in these. That is true.
horrible.
But I have to tell you, and the elastic thing. But I got to tell you, Matt, when I was Frankenstein, I was willing to suffer because I wanted to look like that monster.
You walk around. It's the one day of the year you get to walk around. And you're a monster.
Endure the horrors of the damned. You just look right.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I really wanted to be Batman, and I wanted the cowl. I didn't. The problem with the Vancouver mask was that it had the whole face, and I always thought, what's the point of that? Why do I need to have the bottom half of the face? So I took a scissor.
Nice. Did you really?
Smart.
Yeah, it sort of worked.
And then kind of cut into your cheek.
Yeah, it didn't really work, but
yeah, like people in prison would have made a shiv out of this.
Right. Well, what were you gonna do? I mean, you had to make do until the real thing came along.
Yeah.
So.
You know, I do remember when I was in kindergarten. That's the furthest memory that I have. I also wanted to be Batman, and my mom wasn't really happy or satisfied with the Batman costume. Okay, at this time
she got a great mom.
Well, at this time she wasn't as tired as she was later on when I had to get the Mickey Mouse. But what happened was. She saw the mask. Okay, I get the mask and the costume, and she didn't like the costume, so she goes, we can do better. So my mom actually stayed up late the night before Halloween and actually made me a little Batman cape. And she had one of my brothers had like a long blue turtleneck, and she made a little Batman emblem. And I wore my older brother's black gloves, and so I had this cape, and I had the shirt and the mask, and it was cool because to me that and that was the other thing. The other thing is she goes, you're Batman. Batman should have a bat. And I go, well, what do you mean, Mom? So she got a little rubber bat and pinned it to the top of the mask, so my Batman had a little rubber bat. And I gotta tell you, that was awesome. I'm just telling you, hey, easy there. I'm just saying, that was one of my fond memories. Halloween was when my mom helped make the Batman costume.
I love every part of that story except for the rubber bat.
Well, you know what? She didn't really know about Batman. She just thought her
heart was in the right place.
Yes, exactly.
But Batman doesn't have a little Long John Silver bat.
Yes, but at the same time, my mom went out. She went over. She bent over backward to make this frickin' Batman cape for me. What am I gonna do? Oh, Mom, no, it doesn't have a rubber. No, of course not. I wore it, and I wore it with pride. Yeah. And I love that costume.
My mom would have just given me a dress and went, go. You're a girl now. Go ahead.
Now the funny thing is, of all the monsters that I was, the one thing I could not find was the creature from the Black Lagoon. This is what I really.
It's kind of a rare one, right?
This is actually now the funny thing. This particular one is from the '80s. Actually, I still would have worn this, but the mask is really kind of cool. But I have to tell again the
artwork fantastic.
Yeah, and the artwork on the box is really great. To still find it with the box with all the paintings of all the creatures on here, it's just amazing. But again, the costume itself, do they put little scales on him? No.
Yeah, which would be
no.
Cool.
They decide to put the bib, the creature bib.
If the creature from the Black Lagoon had a van, that's what it would look like.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm sure just to give you the whole visual here, so you'd be like this.
Oh my God!
Hey, how's that?
Where'd the creature come from?
Maybe that was for adults who answered the door to the theater, so they made you're the creature from the Black Lagoon.
That's true.
Yeah.
Wow,
I don't know how many.
To identify.
I don't know how many couples in the '80s did role playing with this color.
That's true.
Anyway, can I also? I have to show this though.
Oh.
In the box.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Aside from this being a rare Halloween costume,
Yeah, easy, buddy.
I'm being very careful. I know. I'm
It's
a nerd like you.
$800 on eBay.
$800. It's flame retarded.
Which I think is
Flame
incorrect.
retarded.
Right? Yeah.
I don't know what that means. if you know, write in.
Yeah, give us a call.
Comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've held long enough.
Well,
Alright,
how about the
interesting.
fact that the Bride of Frankenstein has Dracula's
Yeah,
face?
right.
Well, that is the amazing thing.
Fangs.
You know, they take a few little liberties here. You know, I mean, you got little fangs here on the Bride of
Spirits, right.
Frankenstein.
That's
Yeah, and
fair.
then, you know, the Metalluda mutant here
It's a
has.
lot, yeah.
And, you know, that's another great costume, by the way. So, hope
And,
that-
and can I ask you a question? Where is Collegeville?
Well, Collegeville is the name of the company that
Oh,
made
okay.
Oh, okay.
the.
I always thought it was
And they're still doing fine right now in this economy. Yeah,
Really?
yeah, they're doing great. Yeah, still in business to this day.
Now, there are great Halloween costumes, but there are also some great Halloween movies out there. Of course, the most famous, Halloween,
Yeah, we're still.
which is.
I'm not familiar.
Holds up so well. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
wouldn't you guys say that Halloween? I mean, John Carpenter, Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, my gosh, that's.
It is really it's one of those movies that I can watch whenever it's on.
Don't you think, Matt? It's kind of like when Christmas time comes, you gotta watch White Christmas. White Christmas. When Halloween
Right.
comes up, you gotta watch
Absolutely.
Halloween. You have it's like
It's
that.
so good.
It's that.
It's so good I watch it on Christmas instead of It's a Wonderful Life.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
But you know what else? When I was 13, when Halloween came out, I was past the point where I could really go trick-or-treating because I was too big. But
Don't ever say that.
but Halloween was playing midnight shows, and that was something that I could do. That was cool to do with like high school friends. So that
Right.
became like the substitute for a cool thing to do on Halloween when I couldn't go trick-or-treating.
Right.
And then I did that for like 5 years until Halloween 2 came out, and we went to see that, but that sort of sucked.
Yeah.
Did it really suck, or were you just a little disappointed?
No, I was really disappointed.
Exactly.
That really
Yeah.
sucked.
Now,
Yeah.
okay, really?
In fact-
did you, more so than Halloween 3?
Halloween 3 was actually
Halloween-
better.
Halloween is
Wait a
a
minute.
crazy movie.
Okay,
It's great, but
totally
but it's more
dismissed.
entertaining
Really?
than Halloween
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yours-
I would argue that Halloween 3, because they went in such a crazy different direction,
Right.
Oh my
I will
God.
give it credit for at least
For that
not
alone.
being the same
Right.
bullshit of Michael Myers. Oh, now I'm in a hot tub.
Now,
I'm
man,
cool.
yes, I know.
In the same way that we just talked about the Planet of the Apes movies in the previous episode, how each sequel tried something very different.
Yeah.
Halloween 3 is in that same kind of like spirit, I think. I mean, yes, it's a very different movie. At the time, I guess people were upset because
There's
it
no
wasn't
Michael Myers.
but it definitely is a flawed film. But it's so crazy and strange and ridiculous.
Give it credit for trying
Yeah.
at least something different.
Right.
Doesn't
Yes.
make it a good movie.
Right,
But
but
give
it's-
it credit
but-
for
but-
a computer chip in a mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
timed
There's some
with a-
interesting
with a
ideas.
commercial.
Right.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't know, James. I kind of feel like, I love the first Halloween so much. I didn't mind the continuation of the story. I really didn't. But when you get to Halloween 3 and you get into this room with, the mom, the dad are there, with the little kid has the mask, and the mask all melts, and the mom has a heart attack. What was it about? It was so ridiculous. It was the most ridiculous thing.
But I would say that Halloween 2 takes Halloween 1, which is kind of an elegant movie. It's almost has sort of shades of Psycho.
Yeah.
And there's very little blood.
Right.
And
It's all
it's really
atmosphere and
atmospheric
mood and-
film.
yeah, it
that
really
when
is.
you get to 2, it's kind of just sort of a ham-fisted
Right.
slasher
It's a
movie.
It really is. It's
Yeah.
kind of like
Right.
at that time all the other slasher films that spawned.
Yeah.
You know, not that it's
And it should be something better than that.
Yes.
right.
And it wasn't.
Plus, also the whole ham-fisted is the perfect explanation or perfect way to describe it. I think is the whole trying to tie it in with being a sister and all that. It's done in a very clunky way and very like
yeah.
Now, did you guys see, we're jumping ahead a little bit, but did
Whoa.
you guys see the Halloween H2O? That one?
I have not seen that.
That
one.
is a good
I
movie.
have to see that one.
It's where Jamie Lee Curtis returns, and it's really effective.
But don't
And-
they, at the risk of spoiling, don't they kind of get rid of her really quickly in that movie?
Well, she comes back in the sequel to that one.
Oh, okay.
Which I think is called Halloween Resurrection. Yeah.
Yeah, I've not seen the later sequels.
Yeah,
but
which is not as good. But I mean, there is territory to be mined there.
Right.
Sure.
And whereas you look at those movies, you look at Halloween, and then you sort of juxtapose those to the Friday the 13th movies.
Right.
The Friday the 13th movies, you could almost forgive their sort of outlandishness because they were always kind of outlandish from the very start.
They were a little more unapologetic about being more just like straight out in your face exploitative slasher films. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, there's a time and place for that.
And you're right, they get into the whole like Carrie territory with the psychic girl, which is kind of fun,
I love that movie. I love that one.
Yeah, I mean they're
Jason Lives, all that stuff.
Yeah, they're fun,
Which is the one where Arnold Horshack gets
yeah, that's Jason Lives.
Jason
Part
Lives,
6. Yeah. So you're right, they kind of like in their own way. They're a little more maybe less imaginative in some ways, but like I don't know, but they're still fun.
It's almost like the horror version of like a Bob Hope, Bing Crosby road movie. Don't go too far from the formula. I want you to stay with this.
So you say, so basically we're going to agree to disagree that, okay, we all are big fans of the first Halloween. We're kind of split. You guys are on 2 and 3. Okay,
2 and 3.
I will have to tell you, one film that I absolutely love to watch every Halloween, besides Halloween, would be Night of the Living Dead. The classic.
Well, just talking about the whole idea of like the ritual of every Halloween season.
Well,
watching
one of the things that I, one of the things that I do as an adult, my wife and we do the Halloween thing. I do set up the motionettes. You see a couple of them out here, the Wolfman and Frank. I mean, I have a bunch of these, but we set them up in the window. And what I like to do with my kid is we try to do like little tag team things. Like if she wanted to be Tinkerbell and I would be Peter Pan. Hey! And then when she wanted to be Belle from Beauty and the Beast, I was the Beast. And she was Supergirl and then I was Superman. And now because she knows that Daddy likes creepy things, she was actually thinking about being Wednesday from Addams Family. But because of the film Brave and Mommy had already gotten the Merida costume, I think she's going to be Merida instead. She'll be Wednesday next year, which means I have to be a character from Brave, which means I may have to be a big brown bear. But
kids are like cats.
Yeah,
I remember a half hour ago.
Once I get the kid, we do the Halloween thing, and then I get the kid to bed, and I have to watch Halloween and Night of the Living Dead, which is what I think one of the greatest zombie films.
Well, Night of the Living Dead is one of those films. That is like the first movie that genuinely scared me.
Oh my God!
When you, as a kid, when you're introduced to horror, a lot of it is kind of like you almost sort of like root for the monster. You're kind of like it's kind of uplifting because these are characters that you like. They're put upon, and you feel their pain, and as a kid, you're kind of like that. You're misunderstood.
Like Universal film.
Right.
Yeah, right.
But then you get to Night of the Living Dead, where it's just dead people rising from the grave and eating you, and you're like, oh, I don't know. I don't want this to happen to me in any way.
The first time I saw that film, it was actually on Creature Features, and it was
That's right.
And
Me too.
And it was in the 70s. I gotta tell you, I remember Bob Wilkins was saying this is like one of the scariest films of all time, and I'm like, oh, I gotta see it. I mean, within the first, couple of minutes, I begged my younger brother and sister to watch it with me, and within like 5 minutes of the film, and there was really nothing, within the first few minutes, not much happens until you get, till you see the first zombie. It gets to it pretty fast, though. And they couldn't deal with it, and they had to leave. And so I'm watching this film. The house is pitch black. Matt, it was terrifying.
Right? Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
The trailer
is
terrifying.
Yeah.
Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
And there's like a skull, a half-eaten skull on the edge of the stairs. And you're like, oh no.
Well, the movie kind of like it looks. I mean, it's the black and white photography, kind of the stark.
Documentary style.
It looks kind of like a nightmare. I mean, it's very much very different from kind of like your classic kind of like gothic films or anything. It's just done in a way that's just kind of creepy.
It seems real.
You're right. It has that. Kind
and
of
with those great the news segments.
Yeah, so done very well.
Yeah, are like very stark and very like, oh my God, is this really happening?
George Romero, I mean, he and his little team, they had done a lot of like news type stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
And I mean, let's face it,
and it really wasn't done before.
No, Night of the Living Dead.
No.
Night of the Living Dead was their dream film. You know, they were doing like industrials and
commercials,
news
that really
commercials,
helped.
and this was their thing. And you know, they had all this experience, and in a way, if you think about it, when you watch the news, a lot of the stuff that was shot for the news was shot in 16 millimeter.
Yeah, shot in that
so
style.
in a way, when you're watching Night of the Living Dead, it seemed no different than the news stuff that you would see on your regular news.
Really seemed like, and especially as a kid, where you're used to sort of taking stuff in from the TV, kind of almost like peripherally.
Yeah.
You get to this place where you're like, is this real?
Well,
is
and the characters in the movie are listening to the radio, and they finally watching the TV, and it's just
and you got to give them credit for like especially Dwayne Jones, who plays Ben, who is just really there. He is a really great actor.
He centers the film really well.
Makes that thing work. And I have the movie. I have an extensive collection of movies on 16 millimeter, and there's just something about like 16 millimeter films that kind of warm my heart. Like when you hear the sound of a projector, it kind of warms your soul. And I had to get Night of the Living Dead.
Right.
That's something that you have to. And there's something about that too. Playing that film on a 16 millimeter projector and watching it
around Halloween
still scares the fuck out of me.
But you know, on Halloween in particular too, because there's John Carpenter's Halloween, but now over the last few years, I found myself watching George Romero's Night of the Living Dead more often during that time of year. And Romero's made other zombie movies, but for some reason, it's Night of the Living Dead that I dig up around Halloween. So it's like Christmas movies like Rudolph or Miracle on 34th Street. Night of the Living Dead is becoming a perennial Halloween movie to watch.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. Totally.
And I love Dawn of the Dead, but Dawn of the Dead is a different creature. There's a satirical element to it.
Right.
It's kind of lighthearted in moments. And
fantastic movie.
It's fun.
And I look forward to doing an episode just on zombies.
We'll do a zombie episode. That'll be another time.
Yeah.
But this is Halloween.
Yeah.
So still, I think we'd all agree, Night of the Living Dead.
But Night of the Living Dead, starkly terrifying.
Right. Primal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Primal.
Nihilistic.
Yes.
Very nihilistic.
Yes.
Yeah,
now, what would you say would be your favorite when you were a kid? You know, your favorite Halloween treat. I mean, I gotta tell you, even though they were probably the cheapest things, I mean, it was always great when you're going around the neighborhood and you're getting the chunks of candy that are the big little chocolate bars, like the Snickers or the Three Musketeers, something like that.
I like cash myself.
People gave cash in your neighborhood?
Every once in a while, you got cash.
I never.
And it was
got
like,
cash.
it was the greatest moment of your life.
Wow. Okay. So what would be your worst? Okay, so cash would be your favorite. For me, it has to be a combination of the Smarties and the Snickers. But the worst is when you get a piece of candy that you just couldn't frickin' identify. And it's like, and it's like probably like the cheapest candy. It's like a little yellow thing and a little yellow wrapper. You go, what the hell is this?
Anything that was open.
Yeah.
You know, but this is my worst.
Did anyone give you an apple?
I was just about to say, fruit.
Who gives an apple?
Yeah,
Come
on
on!
Halloween.
On Halloween,
Really?
an apple?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's bad.
Why don't you just kick me in the face?
You know, don't just put a sign out that says, no, you know, just turn around and go home.
Why don't you just give me a Bible?
Well, I ever have that people who were not home and left a big bowl of candy out?
What is with that?
It was always the first kid that came here.
Like, who would do it nowadays? There's no way.
Yeah, there's no way, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I like the people who would leave just a credit card.
What neighborhood did you grow up in? Cash.
I got lucky.
A credit card and then the empty bowl of candy. Wow, that sounds like a great
a hooker sitting on a chair. I lived in a great neighborhood.
You know, mine was a little bit more idyllic. I you know, just regular old folks.
What about
candy?
that great like, would you guys do like several trips? Because half the fun was taking back your first stash, separating and organizing it all, so you got, and then going back out.
Well, horrifying memory. This was so bad. I took my younger brother. This was so mean. So we went around the block. You know, my parents said you're only supposed to go around the block, and I'm from a large family. 7 kids. My parents were getting tired. He's like, just go around the block. And so my brother and I, we went around the block. Okay, fine. We got our camper. You know what? I thought this wasn't enough. We're gonna go on a different block.
Right.
And we went on a different block, and we kept going. And then we came to this busy street. We had no idea where we were. We went, well, let's go across this busy street. There were cars, and there was no stoplights. My brother and I, we raced across this busy street. I can't believe we didn't get hit. But then we went into this other neighborhood. We had no clue where we were. We eventually had to come to a house and knock on the door. That goes, hi, and we just said, we're lost. Can you help us? Nice. And we had to call my mom and dad. My dad was so pissed. He goes, what the hell are you kids doing?
Now, you guys remember too, like when you were really young, of course you would go with your parents, but then there was that year where like they let you go. That was an adventure. That was great. You get together with your friends and you would go, you could be on your own at night, walking around the neighborhood,
I was in
candy.
Corona, Queens in New York, and I don't know how old I was. It was probably like I don't know, 10. Or 11, and I was with a group of kids, and then for some reason the group went home, and I was on my own, but I didn't want to be on my own, and I saw this other kid in a costume, and I'm like, hey, you want to trick-or-treat together? I had no idea who he was. He was in a costume, but we trick-or-treated for like 6, 7 blocks.
He could have been an expert.
This is like the plot of the Al Pacino film Cruising.
But to this day, I will never forget that Halloween, because it was so random, it was cool.
Right. What was he dressed up as?
I can't even remember. A ghost, I think.
A ghost.
That was me!
You were flushing?
Damn. What would you say is your favorite Halloween costume of all that as a kid?
You know, when I was a kid, I don't really remember having. I had the Ben Cooper crap, and I had Casper was the first one I remember, but he was Casper with like a snarl, and I was like,
evil Casper,
of course, angry ghost.
Bitter ghost.
When I was in college, I went to a costume party, and it was one of those where you're an adult and you have to make up your own costumes, and I made one from scratch. It was Inspector Clouseau from the Pink Panther movies. So I got a trench coat and I got a magnifying glass and a mustache and everything. And that was actually like the first time I experienced having fun.
Right?
No. But it was the first time I experienced having fun putting a costume together from scratch.
Right.
And there is something fun about that.
Right.
You know. Or whatever that whole side.
Sean, what about you?
I think it was the Cooper did Planet of the Apes mask.
Yes, they did.
I remember Planet of the Apes Ben Cooper mask, which I love.
I know my favorite costume of yours.
What's that?
Oh yeah, this is as
Logan's
in
Run.
their adult life. Yes.
What?
Yeah, my wife
Logan's
and
Run.
I was a Sandman, and my wife was a runner. That was a great costume.
Okay.
That was iconic.
Yeah.
What was your favorite?
Mine was I did. Well, I have 2.
Okay.
One is the Fly.
No way.
I did a really great fly, classic fly,
Yeah.
not the Goldblum. And I had the weird claw and everything, and I had the whole mask.
You made it?
I made it, yeah. Well, I found a fly costume that I sort of beefed up a little bit, made it look a little better, and that went well. But then I also remember when I was in my 20s working at a theater in San Francisco, I was in really great shape, and I went as Conan the Barbarian.
No.
And I had a whole
Long
fur
hair?
cape
Are
and
you
a
serious?
long hair wig and all this stuff,
You have to find
and no
pictures of that.
shirt. And I'm like, I have pictures.
Right.
And so I remember and I worked at this theater, and there was a predominantly gay staff. And I'm sorry I said staff. But then so we go to this Halloween party after work, and I go to this party. And I guess I didn't realize the proportion of gay people who were there. Mm-hmm. And I walk in, and there's a whole group of guys, and I walk in the door, and a group of these guys just look at me, and one of them goes, "That's the one I want." And I kind of felt good about it. I felt like, all right.
A Halloween to remember.
Huh? Yeah, I was
That's
like,
a good idea for a costume.
Yeah.
It's like get the right.
yeah, you get the right. It's certainly something that's burned in time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, mine's probably not as memorable, I guess, as Matt's, but mine was the Wolfman. I actually, my older brothers had some rabbit skin fur, like they would bring to school or something. And I actually took one and cut little holes into for her eyes and her mouth. And I took a little an actual wolfman nose that you could get at the time, and I stuck it in, and I made a wolfman costume. And that's been one of my favorite costumes of all time.
That's pretty cool.
So
now, when it comes to Halloween nowadays, do you guys do the Halloween events? Do you go to like Universal
I try to go to
horror
as many
nights
as I can.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
And Universal actually does a really consistently great set of those
mazes.
The haunted house mazes.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
And I guess now they're doing a bunch of classic stuff. They're doing Chainsaw, and they're doing.
Well, Knott's Berry Farm does something like that too.
Knott's Berry Farm. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that there's like a lot of places around anywhere where you guys live where you could find like events or places or amusement parks to probably put stuff together so you can make a really good Halloween evening. At least that's for adults. I mean, if you have kids. Halloween, it's all about the kids, taking them out and making sure that they have great Halloween memories like you did.
It's all about adult memories.
You know what I love though is Halloween in general, because people just dress up, and adults dress up and go to parties, and it's just so random and there's no reason to do it, but they do it. Like, I remember a few years ago, I wasn't going to any party, but I stopped off at a Rite Aid, and I saw all these people in this Rite Aid were like dressed in all these different costumes, and I was just like, oh, that's cool. I sort of feel like I'm at a party, even though I wasn't. But it's like, well, that's cool. She's that, he's that, I loved it.
Did you go up to him and say, hey, can I trick or treat with you?
No.
That's why I like going. I like going to like the Spirit Halloween stores.
Yeah.
Like I love going to those places. And especially after Halloween, like when everything's 50% off.
Yeah.
Because if I was incredibly wealthy, I would buy everything in that place. Like every little crazy animatronic, Frankenstein, or there's like a werewolf that goes or jumps out of a case, and there was one thing that like I want this year, which is I go in there and there's this spider that like it's motion activated, and then you walk by it and it goes and I did it twice, and I was scared out of my fucking mind twice. And that's good technology. That's America at its best.
It's so funny. I'm trying to think back to the 70s stuff, and the stores they had basic Halloween stuff where they had a costume and your pumpkins and some treats and a couple little skull stuff, but not like today. Today
everything is
like
genius.
I mean, and there are other stores. I mean, there's the Halloween Superstore, but there are a couple stores. There's this great place in the city of Burbank called Halloween Town, which is actually
Halloween Town.
The great thing about Halloween Town, it's all year round, and the cool thing about it is, when you go to one of these Halloween superstores, it's like an abandoned Rite Aid or someplace like that. They just throw a bunch of stuff in there. But Halloween Town is amazing because when you go in, you walk into a town of Halloween. I mean, the whole place is black. They actually have haunted house facades on the wall, and ghouls and monsters up above, and they have everything there. So
horror movie T-shirts.
I mean, I gotta tell you guys. I mean, I love Halloween, but going to a store that is just open all year round. You know what? It's the middle of summer. Hey, I want to go to Halloween Town because I want to see what the latest Halloween thing is.
And that's what's lovely about LA.
Well,
that's what I love about LA is that there are so many places in this area. There's Monsters in Motion, and there's all these stores that are around all the time that have this kind of stuff. And there's Halloween Town. There's Dark Delicacies, which is a horror movie, a horror bookstore that has every title of horror book you can imagine, and toys and things, and it's great. And and I when I lived in San Francisco, nothing like that.
No, I mean down in San Jose, I mean it's the same type of thing. I mean the Halloween stuff would come out of Halloween, but not all year round. So Halloween has got to be, Christmas is great, but Halloween is fantastic.
Halloween is my Christmas.
So I would like to say, let's give a toast to Halloween.
Halloween!
Yay! Hey guys, thank you very much for joining us, and until next time, keep America strong and watch Halloween films.
Stay scared.